Hi, I'm Robin Birkin, an ex-corporate marketer turned online business owner. I took everything I knew and created a six-figure life coaching business in the margins between nap times and a 9 to 5, and I'm here to share with you how you can do the same. Tune in as I share the raw and unfiltered truths, big lessons, and practical tips to help you build and grow a sustainable bread-winning business online that is both peaceful and profitable. Here, we dive deep into all things online courses, funnels, audience growth, and so much more. If that sounds like the things you want to learn, then welcome to Signature Online Course Secrets. Let's go. So hello and welcome to our new home, Signature Online Course Secrets. If you're a subscriber here, you may now notice we've changed name, we've changed our podcast art, and I thought that now would be a really, really great time for me to give a bit of a life and business update. And I am so here to continue the conversation of this podcast. Let's chat in Instagram if you have any other questions. If you're like, oh my God, I can so relate to this. I really want to know, because I'm so here to build conversations. I'm not just here for followers, for listens, etc. I'm here for real conversations about real life. And so let's talk about all of the things. What does the last 12 months look like in business? Why are we changing the name of the podcast? What's on the horizon? And we'll definitely do something along the lines of this again for maybe the actual 12 months since the podcast and business launched. But let's dive in today to a little bit of a behind the scenes, my rationale, my thinking. And I just know that whether you're just starting out or whether you're an established entrepreneur, you're going to be able to relate to some of this. I've written a few notes, but mostly this episode is going to be me riffing. We'll see what comes up. I may cry. I don't know. Let's go. So it's been 12 months since I made the decision to close my life coaching business. So if you are new here or don't know much of my story, I share that in the beginning episodes, but I was a life coach for women navigating infertility and had run that business for several years. I built that business really quickly. So, yes and no. My second year in that business is when we hit 6 figures in revenue. But at that time as well, I was only working 6 hours per week. So for me, I feel like that's a big deal. And I'm really proud of that achievement. And so I had that business for a few years. Things were working so well in that business. We had 1 million podcast downloads. My Instagram would just get traction whenever I put my foot on the pedal. And my course sales went through the roof. Everything seemed to tick along really, really well. And then I decided to close the business. That was 9 months ago since I did my last sale of my program, but it's been 12 months since I made the decision. So what's the 3 months in between? Well, I ran my last launch of the program. I told people that we were closing the doors, that this was the last launch, which if you have ever sold an online course, you may or may not know that when you say to people, this is the last time we're ever going to do that round, it seems like a good thing to do, because then all of the people who have been on the fence will get off the fence. It's actually the kiss of death for an online course. And I knew that going into it, but we wanted to give an opportunity to the 100 plus people who had just joined the waitlist, as well as the people who were already in the program, to have that runway to the transition that I was making in the business. But I'd sat on this, decision for probably 12 months before that. And it was just a feeling of deep unalignment. And what I say to people now, or the realization that I've come to, is that I feel passionate about mental health for women with infertility, but it's not my passion. So people would always say, I'd have clients, I used to run a mastermind for other practitioners who were supporting women through infertility. So whether that's hypnotherapists or life coaches, or we had some acupuncturists, whatever that looked like, I used to run the Well Conceived Mastermind. Some of you will be like, hang on, don't you still run that? I'll speak to that at the end. But some of them would be, we'd talk about, what books are you reading? What are you doing behind the scenes? And I would very much be like, I'm reading marketing books. And everyone else would be like, really? I'm listening to podcasts about infertility. I'm soaking up more information about infertility. And I really wasn't. And I remember having this conversation with a good friend called Devon. And she is a master life coach. She
used to have an online business. She no longer does that. We were having this conversation and she said, you know what? With your background in marketing, I think it could have been anything. You know, you could have had a cancer journey, you could have had a gardening journey, and you would have made that work because you have the marketing expertise. And I really feel that that's true. So I have a 20-year career in marketing, advertising, promotions. I just live for it and I actually love it. I love the data and the discovery that marketing brings. So I made peace with that decision over what I feel is a very long time. So definitely 12 months at least of wrestling with what to do before then making the decision I would run one final round of the program and then close that chapter. And so it's been 12 months since I made the decision and started, I guess, essentially wrapping up that revenue stream in the business. And I guess essentially starting again as someone who exclusively supports other business owners with their marketing products and promotions. So, what has the last 12 months looked like in business for me? It has looked like closing a lot of chapters. It's looked like a lot of grief, and it's actually been really challenging, if I'm being perfectly honest. I deleted nearly 6,000 email subscribers from my email list. I've essentially started again on Instagram, and I will speak to that in a moment as well. And I've let go of what I feel was a really easy 6-figure plus revenue stream. So I was at multi 6 figures in revenue when I shut down the business, and a big majority of that came from my infertility business. And actually, if I'm being really honest, not trying too hard for that revenue. And some of you might be listening to this and be like I try freaking hard every day and I can't crack 6 figures. And I wrote on my Instagram's reels today, one of my clients in the mastermind said to me yesterday, why are you so good at Facebook ads? And I said, do you know why? You know, multiple reasons. And I shared that in the Instagram reel, but I paid 10,000 US dollars, which is at this stage nearly 15,000 Aussie dollars, to a Facebook ads coach in 2019 before I was making 6 figures in revenue. That was the year that I made 6 figures in revenue, but I did not have that evidence when I invested in the Facebook ads coach. So one of the reasons why I've been successful, number one, because I've had 20 years experience in marketing, advertising, promotions. Another reason though, is because I've always trusted myself and just invested when I've been like, well, what is the next right step for my business? What do I need to do? Okay, let's learn it and let's invest. But I let go of that. And so to give you some context around what that looked like and the ease of which I had, it's been since August 2022 since I recorded my last podcast episode or released my last podcast episode. In that time, though, so we're coming up to 2 years since that happened, I still have on Spotify 123,000 impressions per month. I was getting 300 to 400 leads organically per month just into my email list as a result of my podcast, my Pinterest, ranking on Google, all of the things. I had posts on Instagram that were still getting traction. You know, I've since deleted them all now. You know, I've now deleted those lead magnet forms because we're not monetizing that brand in any way. And so it looked like a lot of letting go. Imagine having that in your business. And I've made this decision to start again. So it's been really hard. I've had to let go of my ego. I've had to step right back into beginner energy. I would put out Instagram Q&A stickers. And someone said to me at one point, so what we tried at the very beginning of last year was like CEOing that business and stepping out of the business and, you know, getting my VA, for example, to schedule and run all of my Instagram, to then run really rinse and repeat launches. Problem with that is I could 100%, like I went through once, I'm shit you not, into Asana and scheduled out something ridiculous like 200 Instagram posts. It was all there. The captions, the hashtags, the artwork, all of it. I had Febby, one of my assistants, like running the account. The problem though was that And I know that this is a good problem to have, but every time we would do that, I would then get so many DMs from people. I would then get all of these comments that then would require me to respond to them. And then there's Instagram stories. If you want to show up regularly on Instagram, you want to put out Instagram stories. And it was this wrestle, and I felt like I was running two businesses really poorly. And again, when I was looking at books, when I was listening to podcasts, I just wasn't listening to podcasts about infertility. It was all marketing and business books. And I had the mastermind. It was pretty much the only thing I had that was supporting other business owners. It was just for, other fertility practitioners. And that was a revenue source in the business. And so then I started this Instagram account, and it was like I would do 2 months on the business Instagram account, and then I would log into the fertility account and do 2 months there. So it was like on, off on each account. So obviously, neither of them were at their full potential. Neither of them were like, it just felt like I was doing two things really poorly. And so there just came a point where I was like, something has to give. And when I really thought about it, and this is why I stopped the podcast in August 2022, I had batched all of these episodes right at the start, I think, of August 2022, and something was wrong with the microphone. My podcast manager was like, we have to scrap all of these episodes you've recorded. And I just could not bring myself to re-record the episodes. I just couldn't. So I was like, let me have a month break and see what happened. And I just could not. I just couldn't do it. And I think at a very deeper level, my children are older now, and I want to be able to close that chapter in my life. When I look at the legacy I want my children to have, when I meet mums in the schoolyard and they ask, what do you want to do? It just never sat that right with me to be an infertility life coach. And I know for many people, they feel so passionate about that. And I don't know why I just didn't. When I think to what I want to be known for, it's like in the marketing, right? So wrestling with that big decision, deleting all of the things, has looked like letting go of my ego, because it has not been a walk in the park to start this new business. I've started my email list from scratch. My engagement on Instagram is garbage, and I consciously chose not to start a new account, but to use the account I already had, because I still want those analytics. I still see so much value in that. I still see so much value in the relationships I've built over the years. And I feel like I'm not here for just likes. I'm here for conversations and deeper stuff. Lots of people still want to follow me, and I don't always think the grass is greener on the other side. So if I was to start an account again from scratch, I think there would still be a huge period of building that audience versus, settling with rubbish engagement. But essentially on Instagram, I'm never going to go viral, hit the explore page, or really be able to use Instagram as a growth channel for at least probably the next few years. Because when you put out an Instagram post, Instagram will, within, let's say, the first half an hour, send it to 5% of your audience and see how they engage. Well, if 95% of my audience aren't interested in what I have to say because it's not related to, mental health for infertility, it's actually related to business, there's not going to be the engagement, which is going to mean that most of my posts are going to die right there. So Instagram used to be a big part of growth for me, and it's not anymore. So I have really had to lean into all of my ads expertise to get more followers, and my email list to warm and nurture those followers and convert those followers. So that's been really challenging, because I've had to sort of let go of Instagram as a growth channel. And generally in business, it's so much more saturated. There are so many more, and there's really big players like, billion-dollar players within marketing. So the competition is fierce. Advertising is more expensive in general. So it's really felt like starting from scratch. And what's been so biggest challenge, I would say, is I dropped my major source of revenue. So it would have been, let's say, between 50 and 75% plus of my annual revenue. I dropped that, but I haven't necessarily dropped my expenses. So it's felt like I'm starting from scratch, but haven't started from scratch in terms of the expenses, the responsibilities, the tech that I have, right? It's all more advanced. I have a team, right? So it's this really teenage, messy middle, weird place to be in. And honestly, it's felt like I haven't had the luxury of going slowly in my business. So we are still at more than 6 figures in revenue this year. And I'm so proud of that. But also, when I look back to this year, I'm like, oh, there's been a lot of hard work that's gone into that, right? Like, I feel like my brain has worked harder than ever this year. And it's been really tempting. Like you see people on Instagram with these $97, like, here, get this product, and they go viral on Instagram and whatnot. And I just know deeper in my bones that that's not where it's at. One of my Roman empires is that it really is not easier to sell whatever, like $1,097 products than it is to sell like $10,000 products or whatever the equal amount is. It's just not. And so I resist at all costs launching all of these low cost, tiny little offers and launching things again and again, because it's really not in alignment with the business that I want to create. Also, not what I know to be successful, if that makes sense. So I've started again. I've had to navigate a lot of stories around feeling like I've abandoned women in infertility, and I haven't. I'm just helping a lot of the people that help them, and really testing, experimenting, doing new things, figuring out my voice. And if there's anyone here who's like, oh, I just don't know what I want my niche to be, or I just don't know how I want to show up, or I put things out there on Instagram and I just don't love it, let me tell you, you find your voice, you find what you feel passionate about, you find where your expertise lie by doing. And that has so certainly been the case. Like, sometimes I look back at the posts that I wrote when I started talking about business, even just a year and a bit ago, and the design, the tone of voice, everything is so different. And I have learned only because I've been doing things. And I always say it's like when your partner says to you, what do you want for dinner? And you think, nah, I'll have anything. And they're like, okay, let's get Mexican. You're like, no, I don't want Mexican. They're like, okay, let's get Thai. No, I don't want Thai. Sometimes it's not that we know who we are or what we want to speak about. It's that we put things out there and then we're like, oh, actually, I don't want to do that. So we kind of narrow the list of our niche, but what we want to talk about through that process of elimination and through learning what we don't want to talk about. And so that's been the process over the last 12 months, is a lot of experimenting and figuring out what I want to talk about. It's felt like my brain has worked so freaking hard, but at the same time, it's given me one of the things I really craved, which was simplicity in my business. One audience, one message, really simple product suite. I'm not bouncing from, Instagram account to Instagram account. I'm not bouncing between 1,000 free Facebook groups. It's the simplicity that I craved. And I know that we are all multi-passionate, and in some world, would I like to still talk about infertility? Of course, but it's just not feasible for the business and the life that I want to create. So one of the things that's happened in the last 12 months is that I have really been able to solidify who I am here for and what I stand for in my business, which is so important for everyone. And what it is I'm no longer supporting just fertility practitioners. Hence, one of the reasons why we have changed the name of this podcast. And the plot twist is we've also changed the name of the mastermind. So the mastermind is now called Peace and Profit, and it's very much in line with what the mastermind supports people with. And the mastermind is no longer for just, fertility practitioners. It's all service-based women in business. And as part of that, we've also changed the name of the podcast. And there's a little bit more to the change in the name of the podcast. But what I stand for is not women in business who want to create $1 billion empire with an office building and sit on a yacht in a bikini with a money gun. It's people like me who want to work part-time hours with big flexibility, lean teams. We're not like shooting for the moon. We're shooting for flexibility in our lives. And I so firmly believe it's actually not possible to do it all. People are always like, you don't have to do it all, but you can have it all. Do you know what? You don't have to have it all either. We can aim for a little bit more mediocre and average, but we can still aim for breadwinner type wages in our business. And we can still aim for really successful business, but it doesn't have to be with $1 million responsibility or $1 million team or $1 million risk. Business is always going to be risky. As an entrepreneur, you are always going to have to flex that muscle of risk. You're always going to have times when you're like, you know what, I'm going to invest this money in Facebook ads in preparation for my launch. And if you are not readily investing in whatever, education, hustling sometimes in a launch, investing in growth in different capacities, you are just never going to reach the next level in business. You're always going to have to take risks. Note me, I have taken a big risk in shutting down my revenue, but I really feel passionately that women in business, so women like me who you're like, you want to go to the gym, you don't want to be working full time because you want to be with your kids at school pickup. You want to put your kids through private school. You want to go on family holidays. You want to just go on holidays whenever you want. I so firmly believe that that's possible. And I don't think we need to do it with giant responsibility. That's what I'm here for. And that's what I teach people to do. And so everything, I really feel passionately about and everything I teach right now is around the concept of how can we create a simple, streamlined, and scalable business that's essentially big flexibility and low responsibility. Who wants massive payroll responsibility and massive teams? Like, no, not me. But I still want to have a breadwinner business. So hence why we have the Peace and Profit Mastermind. It's for women in business, essentially who want to create a 20K per month business in 20 hours or less per week. That's it. And so it's no longer just for women within infertility. And we lean on things like, how can you become more sophisticated in your launches? How can you lean out your product suite but make it more profitable? How can you lean into almost that being everywhere energy and using things like Facebook ads to accelerate and grow your business without you having to be on all of the time? And then in terms of the podcast, we're all about signature online course secrets, because my firm belief is that you can have a truly successful business with 1 to 2 to 3 products, and that's it. With the hero product being a signature online course. And, we have the signature online course Launch Easy Life, which, spoiler alert, we may change the name of as well. But that is all about how to create that signature online course. You're not having like multiple funnels. You're not having to mess around all the time with evergreen funnels, which if you've ever tried that, you know that they're so advanced. They're so not the easy way out. Having small and frequent launches accelerates your authority, accelerates your sales, accelerates your momentum, and allows you the opportunity, if you launch like 4 times a year, to basically break your business up into 90-day cycles. Hello, a business that works around school holidays. So I am so passionate about that as the business model for women who want a multi-six-figure business in part-time hours that gives them big flexibility and time leverage. And so hence one of the reasons why we have changed this podcast name. But here's the other thing. So a lot of what I've been doing in the last 12 months is experimenting, a lot of market research. And I had this literally big stop in my tracks moment not that long ago. So the podcast name change, we've been looking at changing the name for a few months now, but I just haven't hit the go button because I've wanted to get through several launches and things. But I had this stop in my tracks moment not that long ago when I was looking up the podcast statistics for the Fertility Warriors podcast. So I still feel that if we have, like 5,000 people per month downloading that podcast, there is still value being provided to the infertility community. And I feel like if there's still people consuming and loving the podcast, which I still get DMs every week from people who are like, I just binged the podcast, then it still deserves to be up there. It doesn't cost me anything. It just sits on Spotify. But as I think I mentioned at the beginning of this episode, there's 123,000 impressions per month of that podcast. It didn't happen by accident. It happened because I know how to do that and what I'm talking about. And it came from that. Like, there's a number of strategies. I teach them all within my podcast program. But one of the reasons for that is search engine optimization. If you understand search engine optimization and how to become discoverable, and that works for Instagram, for YouTube, for blogging, for podcasting. I haven't published a podcast since August 2022. Imagine if, and I only have 215 episodes. Put that in the context of Instagram, that if you had 123,000 impressions on Instagram, despite not having posted in nearly 2 years, and you only had 215 posts and still got that amount of traction. Hello, you would absolutely do that. And I was like, hang on, why am I fucking around on Instagram all the time? I know why, and there's still so much value on Instagram. But this is where, I just want to scream at business owners, invest. Don't just put out crappy podcasts, put out strategic podcasts and strategic growth. And this is what I'm all about in Peace and Profit. Do things strategically, and you will then end up with a really peaceful business. So I was like, hang on, you know what? We need to create the exact same within this podcast. So one of the other reasons why we've changed the name of the podcast, one reason is because we're no longer about fertility. Another reason, I'm so passionate about signature online courses. But number 3 is for more search engine visibility. And so that's one of the reasons. So do I regret closing the life coaching business? No, I really don't. Has that meant it's been all a walk in the park? As you have heard in this episode, no. It's actually been really challenging. But like I said, I was doing 2 things really poorly. I wanted more simplicity and scalability in my business, and I had this ability to pour into the mastermind now. I've had the mastermind for 4 years now, and I've just entered this place where I'm like, you know what? I'm so sold on this offer. It's such great value, and it provides this deeper level of support that I think is needed. I'm not here to help people with mini solutions like let's put a Band-Aid when there's a gaping wound. I'm here to sit with you and partner with you and go through at full depth. Let's go through the sales pages. Let's be here to work through the things. Let's give coaching all of the time. And I'm so happy that I've been able to do that. And I still love it. I lap up learning more, working with people in their businesses on this topic. And sometimes, there's a saying that says, what is it? Hard choices, easy life. Easy choices, hard life. And so I really felt like I've made the hard choice in pursuit of the easy life and something that lights me up and has so much more potential. When you're only focusing on one thing and can become the expert in one thing, there's always going to be so much more potential for you. So in life as well this year, oh my gosh, it's been busy. And this is also why I'm so glad to have simplified the business. You think to yourself when you have a baby that it's all consuming and that everything will become easier when they're in school full time. And it is in some respects. But also, my gosh, we go to so many appointments, from orthodontists to one of my children goes to a psychologist and OT and all of, the neurodiverse things. We've also gone to a new school. So we're in private school now, which just feels like it's so expensive, but it's also been so worth it. It's been the best decision and just so validating for us. And so both of the girls are loving it at private school and we're loving it for them. They're each getting exactly what they needed, which is very different for each of them, but they're each getting that at this new school. And we're about to start a house renovation. So I feel like I've been talking about the house reno forever now. And part of that is because we're owner builder. My husband helps build houses or builds houses. So naturally that's the choice for us, but that means that everything is going so much slower. So, I'm spending loads of time dealing with contractors, calling for quotes, doing random things around the house, taking things down, moving things. The room next to the kitchen is now filled with tools and surfboards. So everything is a little bit of a jumble, and it's probably going to be like that for the next year and a half. So I'm just so grateful that I took the choice to simplify and just ride the one horse. So, as we close up, I guess I'm going to talk about what's on the horizon here in business and also the lessons that I've learned over the last 12 months. So, here's some of the lessons I've learned over the last 12 months. So, number one, long form SEO based searchability content is the business. So, if you don't have that growth, ideally want active growth content and like passive growth content. Passive growth content is that SEO type content that will keep delivering results for you without your active involvement. And you're typically going to look, I mean, it can work for Instagram, but you're typically looking at blogging, YouTube, podcast, one of those three. Choose one, do it really well. Grow your email list. So if there's one thing that I kind of regret not doing sooner as I launched the business, it is 100% not growing my email list as consistently or from the start. It's now a major focus of mine, along with what I just mentioned is that long form searchability content. Don't just rely on one social media platform. You never know when a platform will just stop working for you. You might randomly get your Instagram account shut down. You could like end up with a tech glitch and your YouTube account gets shut down, whatever that looks like. So I'm truly in the camp of not just one platform, have omnipresence, be everywhere and have multiple channels for growth and nurturing. And I'm also, for anyone who's working part-time, I'm so firmly in the camp of advertising as a way to skyrocket your email subscribers and your sales. The next thing I've learned, I guess, in the last 12 months is I've learned more about high ticket sales than ever before. And again, what I said is like, I'm in this space of I want to go deep with people in their business. And for that, it requires that I have a premium product. So I have my signature online course and I have the mastermind, the Peace and Profit Mastermind. And I really see me just having those two core products, not really building out to anything else, because I see the value of going really deep and almost becoming a partner in people's businesses. But high ticket sales is something that I've not really done before. Like I've never really done a lot of discovery calls, because when I was an infertility life coach, I'm a really good educator. I'm really good at preparing resources and speaking to people. In the business sense, I'm great as a consultant or a strategist, but coaching was never really my vibe. Another vote for like why I should shut down my infertility life coaching business. So I never had high ticket stuff. I very rarely did one-to-one coaching with people and never really enjoyed it when I did. And so I've never really done like discovery calls or, that real relationship building. It's all been these semi mid to low ticket high, like online courses and things like that. And so this is definitely an adjustment and a new skill that I've been learning over the last 12 months. And again, the other thing that I've learned is just by doing is that I'm so passionate about this concept of part-time profit. Women who want profitable part-time businesses. We're not like shooting for, Chanel handbags. We're shooting for putting our kids through private school and being there for every pickup as well. And I want to bring in the bacon, but actually I really want Marie Kondo level joy in my business. And I call it the sweet six spot, like that sweet six figures, 6 figures to up to $300,000 a year, where you don't have to have a big team. You don't have to take big risks. You don't have big payroll responsibilities and you don't have to work full time. This is what I love. And this is what I'm passionate about. And then what's on the horizon for the next 12 months is honestly no big flashiness, doing what works, focusing on these two products, specifically the mastermind. I am so passionate about Peace and Profit. We changed the entry criteria so that we could serve people at a better and more aligned level. So everyone who joins the mastermind is established. So at 2 to 5, up to 10K per month, and wanting to grow to 10 to 30K per month in their business. And I'm looking more into what works: funnels, growth, searchability, riding the one horse, optimizing the things that work, and just really going deep with our mastermind clients. So if any of that sounds like something you're interested in learning more about, if you want to come along for the ride, then the biggest welcome, and thank you for being here. And thank you for being here for the rebrand too. I'll speak to you next week. Bye.
Another episode on the books. If you'd like to continue the conversation and get more super saveable tips, come and find me on Instagram at Robin Birkin. Otherwise, make sure you're subscribed, and I can't wait to see you next week.